It's here!
The Batman.
When it was clear that The Dark Knight Rises was going to be Christopher Nolan's final Batman film, online discussion began over what the reboot would look like. Who could play Batman? Who would direct? When you look back at the history of Batman in film, each new filmmaker given the keys to the Batcave has a different take. In 1989, Tim Burton's film looked to plant Batman in a more gothic and darker setting than its 60s counterpart. It's undoubtedly influenced by 80s culture, but it also took influence from 40s gangster films, for example. After Burton was given more creative freedom for Batman Returns, he made Gotham a little more, well, Burtonized. And after the film scared the hell out of some kids and pissed off McDonald's, Warner Brothers and director Joel Schumacher attempted to go a little more family-friendly with Batman Forever, a film that simultaneously embraced the campiness of the world of Batman, as well as telling a story that delved into the psyche of Bruce Wayne. It's an imperfect film, absolutely, but it was the perfect introduction to Batman for kids. One kid specifically. And after the studio leaned a little too heavy on the campiness in Batman and Robin to the point where the film kind of felt like a huge joke, they decided to start from square one. After a Darren Aronofsky Batman Year 1 fell through, and a Batman vs Superman film fell through, they made Catwoman. They also gave the keys to Chris Nolan, who knocked it out of the park with Batman Begins, in terms of establishing a fresh new take on that world, and even made what was previously looked at as a dark Batman look pretty campy by comparison. The world was grounded in a reality not unlike our own. A heightened reality, yes, but it was a significantly more grounded take on the character than previously offered on the big screen. Of course, The Dark Knight came out after that, and the rest is history. Nolan took influence from the work of Michael Mann, specifically Heat. But it was clear that this was Batman to the general public now, and everyone questioned how that film could be topped. Nolan and co. did their darndest with The Dark Knight Rises. They took on the idea of planting the world of Batman inside a disaster film, and wanted to act as a true finale to this take on the character. And after that film was released, everyone wondered where Batman would go next. At the time, I knew I wanted to see Batman go more of a detective route. Like many fans, I pointed to a film like Seven and said, make a Batman film like that. We instead got Batman fighting Superman, which was what it was. After it became clear that plans for Matt Reeves' Batman film would be another reboot, I began hoping again that he'd make a film in line with what I had previously hoped. And wow, did he ever! To cut to the chase, I loved this. It was exactly what I'd hoped for. I try to give fair and honest opinions when I discuss films on here, but when a film hits you in the right spot, especially when it's a film you were anticipating, it's a great feeling. In a similar manner to how Nolan took influence from Michael Mann films, Matt Reeves absolutely took influence from the work of David Fincher. And similarly to how Batman '89 was injected with 80s culture, this film is very much injected with modern culture. The Riddler has a live stream and thanks his followers. Bruce Wayne is a moody, emo guy. And it works. Robert Pattinson does a really great job in this. He's in the Batsuit more often than he's not during the film, and so much of his performance is reliant on his eyes, which I thought was really neat. I love that he's a kind of skinny guy because he looks nothing like that in the suit. It helps add a layer to the secret identity angle, as Bruce is this unassuming rich kid, and Batman is this larger-than-life, walking, talking symbol of intimidation. There are many scenes of Batman just walking through crime scenes as cops stare at him or yell at him or question Jim Gordon why he's there, as Batman just stands there silently. And it's perfect. I'm trying not to come across as the Batman fanboy that I clearly am deep down, but the Batman and Gordon team-up scenes are probably my favourite aspect of the film. And Jeffrey Wright is wonderful as Gordon. The casting top to bottom is fantastic. Zoe Kravitz is a great Selena Kyle, who feels ripped straight out of the pages of Year 1 or Long Halloween, as does John Turturro as Carmine Falcone. Colin Farrell is a riot as the Penguin. The makeup is really excellent, and is an early contender for next year's Oscars, but Farrell does a great job himself at disappearing in the role, and as a big fan of that character, I think this is the best Penguin we've gotten in film so far. Andy Serkis is a great Alfred and is in less of the film than I thought he might be, but in those scenes the state of Bruce and Alfred's relationship is really clear through the performances of both actors. Paul Dano does a great job as the Riddler. Obviously, this interpretation of the character takes a lot of influence from the Zodiac Killer. I can understand fans of the Riddler not being into this version of the character as much, because he's not the super intellectual that he's often portrayed as. But it worked for me, and I felt Dano and Reeves did a good job at keeping him pretty theatrical, even though he's a more psychotic version of the character. Greig Fraser's cinematography is tremendous. Very simple shots of a dark alley do so much for creating the feel of Gotham City and the influence Batman has over it. Michael Giacchino's score is fantastic, and the production design is excellent. The film manages to tackle both gritty detective Batman and hero of Gotham Batman, which is really impressive. If I have any criticisms, I would say that there was a point where it felt like the film could have ended and then it continued for a little while. There's a tease of a character in the last 10 minutes of the film that I don't think was completely necessary, though I also understand that it's meant to make you feel excited to explore that world more. We are dealing with a Batman during his second year, so it does make sense that there are famous characters from the comics that he would have already dealt with prior to this film. It's almost impossible not to compare this to previous takes on the character, and future takes, quite frankly. It's easy to have recency bias, especially when a film is legitimately as good as this, but whether or not it's better than any Batman film that came before it, it is definitely up there with the truly great interpretations of the character, I think. This is, from a performance and technical standpoint, excellent. It nailed the tone it was going for, and I'm very excited to see where Matt Reeves wants to take it from here. If you're a Batman fan, I think you'll enjoy this a lot. And if you're not a dumb fanboy like me, I think this is still worth seeing because it's a very solid film. The Batman gets a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.